Love, light, peace, and abundance. It is I, Queen Essence, and I'm back for another episode of Poetry Unraveled. It is the second day of 2025, and I will that you are having a fabulous new year. I hope you brought it in a fashion that was best suited for you, to set the vibrational output that you wish to have throughout 2025, whether that be you were resting, whether it be you were somewhere else, like you traveled somewhere, maybe you turned it up around people that you love and you care about. Um, Whatever you chose to do, will you enjoyed yourself, and that is set the tone for this new year. Um, I have had several ideas that I said that I wanted to speak with you all about. And of course, I don't have them all condensed. So today's episode might seem a little like all over the place, but we're gonna let it flow, right? We're gonna let it flow. Move the mic out the way. We're gonna let it flow. And I set the intention that for everyone that takes the time to listen, they receive something of benefit. And at the very least, I have contributed to the positive frequency to lift the collective energy. Okay. So, one of the things that I was exploring, right, was the idea of relationships. And it really can be applied in any kind of relationship. It doesn't have to just be romantic. So whatever comes to your mind first, you can, have that in mind. However, I was thinking about, so it was like a twofold idea. So for one, everything is energy, right? Everything carries a vibrational output, right? And the simplest way that I can explain it is that when we were taught, I think it was like in fourth grade, when we were taught in science class about the molecules of water, of liquid, of solid, right? Those molecules were moving, solids it moved much slower. However, they still were all moving. And when they were moving, it was a frequency that was being generated, right? And those frequencies get put out into the atmosphere. So everything has a vibration, a frequency, even us as people. And we have a frequency that's even more in depth because we have what's called a soul frequency. Your soul signature, your essence, right, has a frequency. And people can feel it, People can feel it. People can feel it when you come in a room. People can feel it when you sit next to them. People can feel it. Not everybody, because not everybody is energy sensitive, or some people don't even pay attention to those kinds of things. However, people can feel it. Sometimes they just don't know how to articulate it. So I was thinking about that. And I was thinking about the idea of relationships and when they come to an end, right? And oftentimes as humans, we want to fight against the ending, right? We want to fight against the ending of many things. However, particularly relationships. Relationships seem to be a bit of a struggle that some of us have in letting go, in releasing, right? And in us releasing, we clear a pathway for something that is more in align with who we are or where we're going, or where we're at that time. Excuse me, I feel like I got an eyelash in my eye. However, right, so oftentimes we have that posture, right? However, I was thinking about what will assist us in being free and being in alignment with releasing relationships when it's presented to us that it's time that they've served their purpose. And I thought about it as a vibrational mismatch, right? Because in essence, that's what's taking place, right? At one point when you meet, you feel like you all are great, whether it be friendship or business or romantic or even relatives, right? You feel like everything is great. Y'all mesh together well, right? Y'all mesh together well. However, things start to take place that causes you to realize that you all may not be as aligned currently as you once were prior. And if we could acknowledge that people grow, people evolve, and some people don't grow and evolve, right? Some people are comfortable and complacent where they are, and that's okay. That's their choice, right? It's free will really is a thing. However, when there are ones that are growing and evolving and pursuing being better, doing better, changing their thinking, and some may be rectifying past decisions, right? Past versions of themselves, they're letting go. And in that event, it is highly probable that there will be some relationships that do not move forward with you after you solidify yourself in that space of this newness that you're bringing in, right? And instead of looking at the situation from a ground level, like person to person, where you're looking at the individual, it would be better to look at it from a higher perspective, right? A higher perspective will give us some insight on what's taking place from an energetic standpoint. Energetically, there is a mismatch, right? A misalignment that is now producing discordant energy. This discordant energy could feel like it's something about being around them that don't sit well in your spirit, right? Discordant energy can show up as the conversations don't flow the same. It seems like you all just can't get on the same page with communication, right? It could be where the discordant energy shows up as you want your space, right? Like you don't used to be around them or with them all the time. However, now you're like, nah, I really want to be in my own space, right? I don't really want to do that anymore or go over there today. And today turns into tomorrow, and then tomorrow turns in, you know what I'm saying? So that's how it can show up. And sometimes we fight against it, right? And we still pursue being around these people or pursue being in these relationships before we look up, or before we realize that we look up and it's like months have passed. And for some of us, years have passed and we're not happy, right? The energy doesn't feel free. It doesn't feel peaceful, right? It feels restricted. And most times people turn on the other person, right? They make it like the person is the problem. The person is the issue. The person is the reason why things aren't how they used to be. And in my exploration of that, I said, it would really preserve the opportunity for future, whether it be endeavors, whether it be having cordial conversation, or still being cool and kicking it in social atmospheres without weird energy, if we would elevate our perspective from looking at the people and look at the energy, right? There's power in recognizing that the energy no longer is in alignment and being able to handle it accordingly, right? Handle it in a mature, respectful, intentional manner instead of allowing our emotions to dictate and determine how we choose to move and respond in these situations. And I thought about how people are so quick to like block people and cut people off. And I, for one, am an advocate for enforcing your boundaries, right? to protect your peace. Because if you are in a state of peace, I know that it was well fought for. It was not just handed to you on a silver platter. Navigating Earth requires consistent effort and energy from us to navigate. You know what I'm saying? We're not just on this boat, just like sailing on the ship, or on the boat sailing the seas and then arrive at peace. That's not how this works. Now, some people do just get on the boat and just go wherever, whatever happens, happens. However, there's many of us that are intentional with creating an environment where we feel peaceful, at the very least peaceful, right? So it's important to have boundaries in place so that you can protect what you're creating or cultivating within yourself, right? And as a result, whomever resonates in that frequency is able to get on the boat too, right? They're able to come on in and magnify and amplify the peace that you've created, right? That you've cultivated. However, when people are not in alignment, then you have your boundaries in place so that you are you remain in a space where you can nurture you. And when we recognize that the energy flow is not as peaceful as we want it to be, we don't always have to make a big deal about it, right? Like, you don't have to be all rah-rah. You don't have to be confrontational. You don't have to call people out. Like, we really can respect where people are on their journey, right? And have compassion and grace, right? And it's honor free will. Because, and this is another thing I was exploring, because it's almost like people don't, it's like people say it, however, it's like people don't really process it and accept it for what it really is. Free will is a real thing. The creator doesn't make us do anything, right? Because the creator allowed free will to be a part of our experience here on earth. So when we see people make decisions that they make, they choose to live their life how they choose to live it, instead of getting livid, right? And taking it personally, honor the fact that free will is really a thing and they making their choices. And because you and that person are not the same, me and you are not the same, then I'm not going to get upset with you and feel away and start, taking it on as though you're my responsibility when you're not. You know what I'm saying? Even with your children, at a certain age, their decisions become their decisions. And it don't matter what you say and what you do, because they still have free will, they're going to make their own decisions. So to get all up in arms and upset and pissed off about things is kind of like out of place. Now, I'm not saying you can't feel away, because it's still a human experience, right? Especially because we feel like we have ownership over people, right? We feel like, especially with children, we feel like we own them, or they owe us because we brought them here. And in actuality, it was a mutual agreement. They agreed to come through us. We agreed to bring them earthside, and we agreed to do the best that we could to give them what we had. And then they're going to do with it what they will, I was exploring how releasing that personalism, right? Releasing that perspective on relationships would allow for the energy to flow, right? It's almost like having certain thought patterns. It's not almost like having certain thought patterns causes the energy to be restricted, when ideally, energy is designed to flow freely, right? So again, everything is energy. We are energy. Energy is exuded in our interactions, in our relationships, in our connections. Energy is exuded. So we want the energy to flow. And if the energy is flowing in a direction that we no longer want to go in, then we can peacefully, quietly bow out. Or depending on the nature of the relationship, you could have a conversation to let them know. What I realize is that it's two things that take place. One, people like to kirk out, right? People like to make a big deal and call people out and just do a bunch of actions that cause energy to be expressed that would have been better served in another area. And even if you feel like you got to get some things out, because again, it's part of the human experience, you might need to release some things, right? It's wise, right? It is beneficial to release that energy in a productive manner. When we're directing energy at another person, it's going to cause the person, the average person, right, to be defensive. They're going to defend themselves from the energy. That's why people speak about, the first thing that people mention is, watch your tone, or like lower your voice. Instead of listening to what they're saying, or even giving more power to why they're saying what they're saying, the inclinations to automatically speak to the tone and the volume. Why is that, you might ask? I'm happy you asked. It's because it's an energy that's being exuded, right? It's an energy being directed at the person that you're speaking to, and they can feel it. They can feel the energy, and they like, trying to block the energy. They want you to stop, right? They don't want you to exude that energy to them, so they call it out. They address it the best way they know how, and it's your tone, your volume. You might even get a who you think you're talking to. You know what I'm saying? You might even get a who you think you're talking to. However, when you choose to exude that energy and redirect it, then the response that you get from the person is different. So that could look like, giving a little heads up. I want to talk to you about something. I'm in my feelings about it. However, I really want us to talk this out. So if you could give more attention to what I'm saying and why I'm saying it versus how I'm saying it, I would appreciate that. And if at any point you feel disrespected or you feel uncomfortable and you bring it to my attention, then I'll take a moment to calm my energy, you know what I'm saying? Or to rethink what I'm expressing to you. However, I'm just sharing principles in my expression. You can take the principle and apply it however it fits with how you communicate or how you would like to elevate your communication. In doing that, it allows for the person to already prepare themselves for the potential of this energy you might be coming with, right? And also allow them to prepare their mind not to take it personal because you're coming from a genuine place, right? Everybody doesn't have the same communication level. So it's beneficial to offer grace and be understanding and focus more on listening. I remember I was, throughout my journey, I was taught that it's important to listen to a person all the way through, because the very thing that they may say at the end could be the very thing that you need, whether it be a key, a jewel, a principle, or something that may save your life. You know what I'm saying? So it's important that even when a person is in a feelings, as long as it doesn't rub up against or disrespect any boundaries that you have in place to protect what you're cultivating, allow them to speak, allow them to share, allow them to get that energy out, because they may not have the practice to share that energy. At the same time, again, going back to the original idea, in recognizing that you all have two different communication styles, and their style causes you to have to adjust yourself to give them more grace than you feel comfortable with, then again, that's an opportunity for you to make a conscious, intentional decision to separate yourself from that energy. And you can do it in a very pleasant, peaceful way. And again, when you're having the conversation, you might be met with that kind of expression, right? That kind of energy. On the other hand, you may be the person that is the more grounded energy, right? and you choosing to convey to the other individual that you no longer, have the will, want, desire to interact with them at a certain level, they may give you that energy, right? So we have to be intelligent, right? We have to be skillful. And it's important to know who you're speaking to so that you know the best approach if it is that you choose to go about it that way. However, either way, you're making a decision based on what is best for you and your growth and development. And it is wise not to be personal, to hold on to people that you've consciously identified is not in alignment with where you're going, where you want to go, where you envision yourself being, and still choose to hold on to them. It is another idea that I was exploring was when you do choose to release the energy in whatever way you choose to, right? When you do choose to release the energy, I would encourage to release the energy in love. And I'm saying energy, but we're really talking about people. But again, we're all energy. So you're not really looking at the person, right? This is what allows for it not to be personal. Because if the person had a different energy, you still be in harmony with interacting with the person. However, because of the energy that is experienced, right, from the person through whatever situations happen, then you're making a decision that you're making that's best for you. So in you releasing that energy, I would encourage that if you haven't already adopted this practice, that you start and you release the energy in love, right? And what I mean by that is you don't hold any hard feelings. You don't hold any grudges. You don't hold anything against them. It's just very clear that this is the reason why this energy is discordant and I no longer will to interact with it. So I'm releasing it. However, with love acknowledges that just because the energy or they are that way today, they exude that energy today, doesn't mean that tomorrow, 6 months, 2 years, 3 years from now, they won't shift or change their frequency. So leaving the door open is like such a vital, how I want to say, it is an opportunity to show that you not only honor yourself, however, you honor the Most High that's in you, right? Because this is a universal principle that takes place with all of us with our connection to the Most High, right? Some of us on the surface, it may look like we really be cutting up. You know what I'm saying? We really be showing our little hind parts out here, right? However, there's always a door open for when we're ready to change that, right? When we're ready to do better, to grow, to evolve, to really show up as the fullness of who we are. There's always a doorway. There's always a window, right? Always an opportunity. So being in alignment with the essence of us, right? We leave that same doorway open because we're not the judge. We're not the judge, nor is this our plan. So we don't know the fullness of it, right? And we don't know who that person is and what they've endured throughout lifetimes, right? Some of us may know different things that each other has endured and experienced in this lifetime, and we may feel like it's not justified for the person to be the way that they are, which is still a judgment because at the end of the day, you don't know what karma they're working with. You don't know what they're working through in their lineage. You don't know what energies are with them. And you don't know what tools have been given to them throughout their growth and development that will support them in shifting into a new expression of themselves or a better expression of themselves. However, one thing we know for certain is we don't know what each other has experienced in other lifetimes. So if we recognize and acknowledge that this is not our first time here on earth, right? This is not our first time here. And we acknowledge that because we call each other old souls, right? Old spirits, which means that you have been somewhere in this large creation that the Most High has produced at some point prior to your life here. And we have past life influences that come with us in this realm, right? And they affect us in a multitude of ways, and some of us, those effects are more blatant, right? So either way, having grace and compassion and understanding for another entity, spirit, soul that's navigating here on earth would be the highest perspective that we can operate from, that will cause us to be in alignment with the frequency of love, right? So we offer love, compassion, and grace. And in that, we leave doorways open. We don't shut doors. Now, we put boundaries up. And when the person is at the frequency of alignment with the boundary, they could come through. It reminds me of, those electric fences, right? Those electric fences. Well, I guess not, because you're not able to go through them. However, the idea was like a force field. That was the idea, that why I thought about the fence. It's a force field. And when you match the frequency of the force field, then you can walk through the force field. However, if you're at a denser frequency, then you're not able to walk through the force field. So it's the same principle with people when we have these boundaries that we put in place to protect what we're cultivating and creating within ourselves. Excuse me one moment. When we learn to operate that way and leave doors open, it shows a willingness to be in alignment with the Most High's plan. Because we don't know who these people are in our future. We just know who these people are in our present, right? So I, for one, I leave doors open, right? And most people don't even know the door is open. However, that's what also lets me know that a person is genuine, because I leave the door open, and if they are able to respond at a certain frequency, right? If they're able to acknowledge and respect the boundary that was put in place and make an adjustment to respect the boundary, then they're able to walk through the door. However, when they're not, then they stay on the other side of the door, and that's fine. However, that's what I was thinking about. That's what I was exploring. And put it all in a nutshell, the message that I will to convey, right? The message I will to convey is that when we choose to offer grace and understanding and compassion to others, we leave the doorway open for the highest alignment with the Most High's plan, because we're not putting a period to anything, because we don't know how the Most High is going to flip this thing, right? It's so many possibilities and so many avenues that it would be unwise to cancel or close one. Now, I'm not speaking about extreme cases, right? I'm not speaking about, and I'm not even going to list them, because I still want to get into a poem before my time. I don't want to keep you all past the agreed upon time. However, I'm not talking about those cases. I'm speaking about the ones where it's just something, I won't say simple, however, something that it could be worked on, right? It can be worked through. Now I'm focused on the poem. However, hopefully you all understand and have received the idea, and I would love to hear your thoughts about it. I feel a little rushed. I'm going to go a little over, because I still want to make sure that I give you all the poem, and we're going to go from there. This is the poem that's coming to my mind to share. However, I don't think so. Let's see. Hopefully y'all don't hear the dogs outside. My neighbors are clearly walking their dogs, and the dogs are having all right, so this is a short one. Consideration at a time, I'll do a short one. Your disdain and indifference you are so willing to display. You don't know who I am or why the Creator made me this way. To judge me is not your place. This is your misconception. I have not always been the popular, wanted, or most accepted. Although I have always been true to myself, to the very best I know how. With the newness the day brings, I affirm to live in the moment that is now. I look forward to continuous growth and new friendships in all walks of life. My morals and values I will not compromise to avoid bringing you strife. I will offer gentle advice, however, not impose on you what works for me. Free will is the order of the day. Actively pursue that which will make you happy. True happiness is a gift, a God given right that we frequently pass up. It comes with a willing spirit. Allow the Creator to fill your cup. See the truth in those that are around you. Let go and see that which is beauty. Only then will you experience the true divinity of the Almighty. We are all fractions. Explore, magnify, illuminate. Not only your light, however, those that are around you too. So I feel like that's like a little perfect ending to today's dialogue. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Until the next time, love, light, and peace, y'all.